That is the reason why we have to have student accommodation. Over and above that, we also recommend that the alignment of the policies between all the stakeholders, the service providers and the institution in terms of discipline. That's where we need to improve, because we'll find out that other students, they believe that when they are accommodated in a private property, it means they are on their own. They don't need to adhere into some disciplinary processes or even the behavior. And I think we need to have sort of collaboration there, where the policies or the rules of the service providers talk to our policies in the institution as well as the Nsfas. But over and above that, we do note all the challenges. Others I cannot be able to repeat, but I think the moving forward to say the task team will then need to dwell on that and be able to come up with solutions that will make all of us to be happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. President, you observed that? Yes. May I now call Nsfas to come and address us? This is by design that you are speaking after support, so we must just align.
Thanks, Honorable. You know, remember the mic. So the only thing that is on our mind is sports. But anyway, I'll try to be short. My name is Nsfas, the current Secretary General of Nsfas. I would like to brief the House on protocol observed. You know, Administrator, Mr. Mumba, last month we had an NEC meeting. And on that NEC meeting, Nsfas was part of that meeting. Business side, accommodation side. I think it was Mr. Rama who was representing accommodation side. The NEC members raised a lot of issues under accommodation. But at the end, we had to find ourselves together with Nsfas and the NEC members. But the recommendation was that let's call vendors, let's call student leaders, let's call department, let's call colleges. But let's not try to explain ourselves to them. Let's just apologize. Sitting here, say I told you something. We promised you heaven, but we could not do it. But through that, let's listen to all the issues that we are facing. It will assist us to improve. I've been sitting there listening to all the issues that are being raised by members. It is actually true what they are facing. Now, I would think of something different. You know, I'm a student. I'm also a child who is raised by a parent. I would try to think, I can't buy cross because my salary was not paid. It would be actually painful because every day we would say 917, then we are not determined. It's what we've done to them. We can't blame them to be angry and chase our students. But also as well, we need to come to the landlords and simply say, we are still on a pilot platform. We are trying to improve as a sector. Our main mandate is to make sure that there is no student that does not have a proper accommodation. You know, last year, one of our students was raped in the border in a student accommodation by a community member. The community did not protect that student. Instead, they protect the accused. Also last year, one of our students was raped in a student accommodation by a landlord. By a landlord. All these things, they happen within our sector. These students, they are helpless. Some of them, they are young. And landlords, they take advantage of them because they don't have money to pay rent and stuff. We need a system, a well-planned system that will assist to accommodate students. That's why this initiative must pass an administrator. We must never go to any platform and say we have failed. We must simply say, let's try to improve what is there. For us to do so, we need all parties to come together and hold hands. We need to engage, we need to communicate directly with everyone who is involved. We need to improve our system. I don't want to speak much on issues because we know that, that's why we're here. There are issues. But administratively, I would like to support the input that is made by former colleagues within this program to say let's put framework, time frames for the task. There are issues, but we can't say they must fix these issues after 2 years. They must fix these issues now. These issues need to be fixed now, not tomorrow. We need them to be addressed now. Because if we are not addressing now, majority of our students are going to be struggling. They will be roaming around the streets with no accommodation. And you would know very well, I always say it, the department does not have a plan how they are going to fund and build their accommodation. This is the only solution that we have. This is the only solution that we have. Now on the presentation, I have had one serious point, and I think I would like to add up on the issue of making sure that we have well accommodation. It actually means that we must phase out your E and T. I actually don't support that in some other ways, because now it would mean that we are taking the economy from the community, which does not have proper housing. But let's introduce a way on how do we assist them to develop these accommodations so that they can be on a good standard. It goes a long way. We can offer them your off-take lease agreement. We can offer them all those things. All those outstanding agreements to simply say, go and source out funds and come back, improve your accommodation so that we can be able to place our students within our accommodation, because we cannot compromise the safety of students because we are saying as well we must bring economy to the community. But as the department, let's try to assist them to improve this accommodation. I'm a student and I'm a student. I would like to dispute where it says the students who are not verified, they are self-paid students. I saw it on the presentation and I noted it immediately. Let's not do that. Remember these students, when they go to the landlords, because they know that they are funded, and the landlords, they have no platform to verify. They rely on Nsfas. The delay of processes of Nsfas should not cause chaos between students and landlords. Remember, students don't have money. They won't be able to pay these 3,000, these 4,000 caps. It won't be possible. They rely on Nsfas to do that. Once students they are self-funded, then we're going to have a problem. Because landlords will start shouting to students, say, pay our money. And it can't be that. Last point before I sit down for a friend. Do you know that is Katisako? The issue of transport. Let's find a mechanism. How are we going to provide transport? Let's find a solution. How are we going to provide transport? I disagree that part of the accommodation plan should have transport. Transport is different. It's a different animal that we need to deal with on the site. It should not be included on accommodation. We should not expect landlords to provide transport. Because once you say to landlord they must provide transport, it means you are saying they must take the job of taxi associations. They must take the job of Ubers. And it's a different transport. If you want to kill this, if you want to kill the fight between landlords and taxi association, let's address taxi association on the side. Let's address landlords on the side. But let's not include these two funds. There are two separate things. There are two different things. But they need to work together so that they can come with a better living and better life experience. Thanks a lot.
Sounds. So where you must start, President, is that in addition to what Nsfas said.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. No, it's important what Nsfas said. You understand that Nsfas is substructure. It's only sounds that is a right PhD candidate. No, thank you very much, Madam Director. Let me observe on protocol, same way on the delegation from the head, officials, the admin and the team from Nsfas, staff, landlords, college principals, sample, Nsfas. We continue contact for that very fast to continue because it is costly when they continue on the project. We'll greet each other outside. You know, I think what is important that Michelle has said is the first thing I must say. We need to appreciate admin landlords that responded to the call that Nsfas made. And remember, when this call was made, there was a split between landlords. There are landlords that chose to remain in the institutions, refused to participate in the portal. There are landlords that responded to the call, even though the call was not clear at the time. So they took a risk to support the idea that Nsfas put forward. Now, in appreciating those landlords, we must then apologize for putting them in this very awkward position where they end up not being paid. And I think one thing Nsfas must say, and you must understand, probably at a senior management level, it might not be understood. But we strongly believe that there is a deliberate creation of sabotage within the system that not necessarily projects as if there is a confusion in the system. I don't necessarily think there is much problem between landlords and institutions in Nsfas. But I'm going to highlight a bit of where a panic is deliberately created at me. At the beginning of the year, all landlords that were accredited by Nsfas were frustrated in terms of allocation, deliberately by institutions. And institutions will allocate in their residences, they will go accredit other residences, they will jump the accommodation accredited by Nsfas and refuse to allocate on that accommodation. That was the first panic that was created by institutions. Nsfas then says, issues out a public notice to say, institutions must pay accommodation providers in advance. Here is money. What institutions do deliberately, they pay landlords that they have accredited. They refuse to pay landlords accredited by Nsfas. And then this then creates a panic on landlords that are accredited by Nsfas, because as a landlord, when I hear that accommodation A has been paid, accommodation B has been paid but has not been paid, it creates another panic. Now the third panic is created by Nsfas. When these accommodation providers apply in the portal, you give them a particular grading. When then a contract is generated, it comes back with a different grading from what they received. You realize that now accommodation providers that went into the pilot are rated lesser than accommodation providers that remain institutions. Meaning that for these accommodation providers, it was costly for them to join the pilot. Now, you have to deal with that very first. And I can tell you now, Administrator, hopefully, there is no much words you can say to assure accommodation providers if they're safe, except paying them the money now. As I'm sitting here, I 20. I'll show you what's up. More than 20. And the worst part, Administrator, I did tell you. I think some landlords do believe that we're part of Nsfas. And how they address us sometimes, you can feel the pain, but you want to say, I can't do anything as well. But deep down, you can feel the pain. So you have to. I think Umam will know. I call them almost every time. Even now, I have videos and tell them their protest students are banning property of service providers. Now, we need to first put some mechanism with immediate effect. I think now, just to time, I'm not sure if it's within the legal route, but I'm going to propose that we allow service providers who have not been paid to submit a list of students that they are accommodating. We at least pay that 3 months will not pay them. This will give them some relief so that they operate. In that meantime, out of billing capacity, there should be some money that goes to them in the bank, so that they are able to pay those who are paying them. Remember, this is too risky, particularly for black businesses. Yeah. Because they are on the now, if you don't pay them for 3 months, you are automatically killing. Even the credit record, because now they can't service the loan, they can't service students, and they can't service their own needs as families. So we need to deal with that panic. So I think users must understand that sometimes the panic is deliberately created by institutions. We need to deal with that. And this is what we said to you one. When this project started, there was a high level of resistance from institutions. What will then project, probably one of the reasons, we'll probably fight about it as well with you. You see those percentages that deducted when landlords are being paid and then 5% is deducted for this and that percentage is a problem. It's going to lead to a fight. Because institutions probably were enjoying that percentage because it was them deducting from landlords. Now, when this one says you are taking it, you're going to die because you've joined the portal, you are taking something from the institutions. Now, you must understand that. Two, when you don't pay landlords on time, you're not only dealing with the livelihoods of landlords. Remember, there is a certain percent that must go to house committees, to residents, living and learning programs. So for the last 3 months now, you would expect that in the residents be no activity. Because in each desk, there is a budget for house that must run programs for students. There's a budget for mentors that must run living and learning projects for students. So it is important that you speak out in that level. The second part that is going to be important, it's what Nsfas has spoken about. We need to find a way, we need to find a solution to improving the backyard accommodation. The reality of the matter is that there are areas, no matter how much you want to have proper accommodation, there are areas where you just suffer. If you go to areas such as Boaka, if you go to areas such as Bizarre and State, if you go to areas such as Forte, Alice, you will struggle to find full-blown buildings that are up to standards. But you find those backyards, families who are giving their rooms out, whatever, out to those students. We need to find some framework to improve those residences so that they are up to standard. Probably you will be giving them a shot in them investing in property. In the next 5-10 years, they might have, instead of 2 beds, they might be only 15 beds. Now you have strategically addressed one part in the economy and also address the issue of student accommodation. Now, one part that I think we need to link to the service providers. You need to understand that you are providing social need. when you are dealing with services that are going to students, you are providing social need, you are responding to the call that Mr. Fleming was speaking about. And we are calling on all service providers to understand that as business people, you want to maximize profit and you're not into politics. But one way or another, you find yourself there. We normally say, Supreme, it's either you're in business of politics or you're in politics of business. One way or another, you find yourself. So we need you to understand that you're providing a social need. And every time there are talks of evicting students, you must know that you are setting those students out to social needs. Now, we will plead with you as parents, not as landlords. If you kick out a female student in PE who comes from design, and that student gets raped, it is only fair for us to say you are involved in that action. If a student gets mad because you decided to evict them, we must then say you are part in that crime. As a parent, but we need to, of course, understand each other as stakeholders. I think one other area that we need to talk about, I've experienced in this area, Mr. Freeman, because I'm a direct beneficiary of Nsfas. I mean, to try myself when I was getting in. You see, the attempt to say landlords must provide transport to some degree becomes a sabotage to landlords. One, the landlords must deal with associations because there's an issue of routine that they must have permits and all these things. Two, you are giving landlords a moving target. I will tell you this from experience. I know I'm calculating this one. When I arrived in Nelson Mandela, I studied that side. When I arrived, I used to stay in the township. So Nsfas would give us allowance to travel from where I stayed to campus. But there was this other one residence, it used to have a bus called Nabori, and Southport, those two had a bus for the students. So what we will do, we will take a taxi from the township to town. When we get to town, we wait for shuttles coming from Southport or board those shuttles to campus and then back, so to save the cost. So if you are then saying landlords must provide accommodation, you must be mindful that you will end up with landlords that are providing half of the experience to campus, without necessarily capacitating them with a particular fee to provide that transport. So I think indeed, Nopala, you are correct. We need to engage. I know that there are engagements taking place in that regard, and we are very much confident that you will be able to. I think one area, modern systems, modern systems, we need to apply roles played by all stakeholders. The guidelines are more important. As you are going to improve your applications for 2025, when a student applies, normally there are 4 sections in the application as far as it will be your personal details, your parents' details, where you come from, your financial background. I think you must then add a 5th column of accommodation. And then the students will say, I need accommodation. They will highlight areas, institutions where they will start, and then immediately those accommodations available in that area will appear, and the student will choose probably 3 of those, so that we can be able to estimate it now. 2, we must have a team, dedicated team from Nsfas that will deal with allocation. So you don't rely on one other side of the stakeholder to deal with allocation. If you, as Nsfas, accredit 50,000 beds in Johannesburg, and we have 100,000 students, it must be your priority to say, after filling up institutions, our team will then take over to allocate to that 50,000 beds. And then any other service provider will be then allocated to. Because this then gives assurance to service providers to say, if you are part then of this project, we will always make sure that whenever we have students, we are allocating those students. Because there's nothing as difficult as service provider putting money to an accommodation, improving it, and then halfway down the year, they are told that there are no students. Students are society else. And I think we must caution landlords on this one. It is wrong for us to say as good leadership, but we must caution we don't think it's strategic to take a risk on students who are not confirmed for funding. You see, I hear the comment of leadership about why students will be funded in December. The question is, what were your hopes when you accommodated students knowing that they're not funded? Because some of the landlords, because they want to take numbers, they will go fish out students who are on the appeals process with the hope that the appeal will come positive. Now, the appeal does not come positive, they make it someone else's fault now. Like, why is this appeal not positive? So, you must avoid doing that. We face a number of institutions. I know there's one in UJ. We have been fighting with that case. I think Mr. Freeman must assist us in that charge. Those landlords have not been paid for years now. For years. And you know, it becomes difficult. I think it's the same case with Mr. Musa P. It becomes difficult when the institution comes to a landlord saying that we are in a crisis. These students don't have a place to sleep. A landlord take a risk and say, okay, I will accommodate them. And then 2 years down the line, the landlord will not receive the money because there are some deliberations between the Nsfas. And the most painful part, when they actually get the funding, these students, they then move, they leave that residence. So we need some way of protecting each other as stakeholders so that you don't lose your part, but also as students you don't suffer in being infected and that. Also as Nsfas, you don't chase a moving target. That's one thing we want to negotiate with you all landlords. I know that there's a fight on grading. We need to negotiate much on pricing. You know, we fought hard as I'm about to sit down. We fought hard with the landlords when we spoke about the issue of caps. Because when we raised it, we felt that it is unfair for a student who's staying in a sharing to pay 7,000 rand. In Sentin, you can find a flat for 7,000 where you are going to stay alone. So I think we should respond to the market. We must understand that we're funding poor people who are taking from government. Let's not make funding education a moving target for government. Thank you very much.
I was not aware that we were going to give us a memorandum. So, colleagues, we are fighting with tea break, and yet we have one other item to consume in this interactions with stakeholders. PSHA, I understand we are going to represent accommodation providers just to make a reflection on a number of issues before we take the next presentation on cabin. Actually, before we break, just for a tea. Is that not the understanding? Before you actually make a presentation on administration fees and so on. All right? Okay. You were not prepared to do that. Can I get the accommodation providers, one or two that wants to make a reflection? We can split the 10 minutes to 5 minutes. Okay. I see a hand there. Please come. Come.
Can I do it from here?
No, you
No?
can do it here.
Okay.
And then you can come in. Thank you.
You guys okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Dear colleagues, administrator and everyone, thank you for inviting us today. And I must just tell you, being here and telling our accommodation providers that Nsfas has called us for a meeting, they were all in joy. So please give us something to take home. If we came with no luggage, so we are happy to carry that money. All right. There's a few points that we have. You have covered quite a few of them, so I'm going to be very brief. With regard to the pilot project, many of us are struggling. We don't understand you have challenges, and Nsfas said earlier on, even if you just give us partial payment, if you say, I'll pay you for 2 months, we will thank you for that, because we want the process to work. When it comes to us understanding the process, give us something that we understand. This is our processes, our procedures. You've shared something with us today, and that was very valuable. Let us be part of the processes, because we are on the ground. We experience this every day. We can tell you, we will even do this at our own cost to say, how can we help you to improve the processes? And don't be surprised, but many accommodation providers are professionals as well in their field, and they are willing to give their services to you at no cost whatsoever. Our team has come up here today, and we are all funded personally for that. In terms of stakeholder engagements, we want this not to be once-off. Schedule meetings with us at least quarterly, be it Zoom calls or whatever. Even if it's just to say, hi, are you still happy? And we say, we are still happy. So please think about this quarterly. Living and learning programs were spoken about, and I was quite surprised yesterday to realize that not everyone is receiving this. So there's, at the moment, only large accommodations that receive living and learning, but not small accommodations. And living and learning can transform our student into a professional, because the living and learning will teach them that beyond the degree you have, how can you become a responsible South African citizen? And there are some of us that are educators. We'd like to write some of these modules for you again at no cost to you. So please, we are in this together. When it comes to the disciplinary committees, some universities do have these committees, but I also want to appeal to you. These committees must be skilled. They must be able to do the job that they have been mandated to give. Because the disciplinary committee is not only there for the student, it's for us as accommodation providers as well. Where, as you mentioned earlier on, we come on board, we have all the facilities, and later we pull the plug once the students are in. But you need committees that has the competence to be able to come in and treat us with respect, instead of writing one-sided reports. We cover the transportation, utilities. Now this is our biggest. We give students an open tap and unlimited electricity in a country where we are burning diesel to keep the lights on. We are asking you to allow us to cap the electricity, even if it is ratio in terms of what our income is. So if you say if you're receiving 5,000 for the student, what percentage can be allocated to that? And allow us as accommodation providers to manage that. So if you say, for your accommodation, you give a student 350 towards the electricity, and the water bill must also be managed. Because it's no use that we give all these facilities and 50% of that money goes towards paying the electricity and paying the water bills. In the Eastern Cape, we were struggling with water. And this country is struggling with electricity. We'd like to be on a group that can discuss this. We have some fantastic ideas. We spoke about defunding, and an important part, we want to be alerted as soon as the student's defunded. I made a joke earlier on. When you are in overdraft, your bank sends you an SMS and someone calls you. We want something like that. Students being defunded, but also give us an additional month to be able to assist the student. So if they defunded, we brought them on board because they were funded. Something went wrong with their application, but please give us some time to find accommodation or to engage the parents that may be able to give us a nominal contribution towards rental. We will be fine with that. One big problem we have in our region is municipality has something called special consent. If you want to have a student accommodation, you need municipal special consent. If not, you could have accommodation that has 10 rooms, all qualifying for Nsfas. They will only pay for 4 students, irrespective if you are housing 10 students. We believe this is not the university's responsibility. The municipality should manage their own policies and procedures. The university should pay us for the students living in our accommodations. We also have one more challenge, and this goes back to 2023, where students were only funded in October, November, not because we did not know they were funded. All of a sudden during the year we were told the student is defunded. I think there was some debits that went through the account, but in November they were again funded, but then the books were closed. We did not receive that money. So that is something we ask Nsfas to have a look at as well. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone, and I'd like to just greet the House and say all protocols observed. And a big thank you to Nsfas for arranging this. I don't want to harp, I think we've covered all sorts of issues, but I'm once again from Mthatha, the Eastern Cape, and I think there are 3 points that I'd actually like to labor on. So the biggest thing is understanding that the Nsfas was created, or my understanding of it, it was the main objective was to enhance the student experience, meaning that we look at all the stakeholders and we work together. Currently, the student experience is not enhanced, okay? And I think what is very important, Mr. Nomvana spoke to student leadership. I'm standing here as a landlord who has had my res stuff taken out of the residence and burnt, because students believe, and because of the divide between the universities and Nsfas landlords, that we, the WUSU, or WSU universities are paid. I'm sorry, not universities, I'm nervous, sorry. The landlords have been paid. Nsfas has not been paid. So they think that we are deliberately withholding money. And so because there's no transparency from student leadership, equipping these students to tell them that on board, so your accommodation provider can be paid, they think we are withholding, and they are starting to damage our properties. So yesterday we had 3 strikes that involve fire. These students, yes, they do not go to burn the residences down, but they're taking furniture and they're burning it. And something will happen where the res will be burnt. Insurance policies are not being paid because they'll say, what does your insurance policy say? Your insurance policy hasn't been paid for 4 months. Who are you going to get the money from? This is a big problem. This does not only speak to, we understand the teething problems, however, it is creating a ripple effect that could be detrimental to our businesses. Mr. Nomvana also spoke to the previously disadvantaged. We stood up and we decided as black landlords to come and stand and create a legacy in creations for students as well as ourselves. We are previously disadvantaged and we want to be instrumental in the creation of future black leaders. This is taking us back. We do not want to go back and speak about what has gone past, but this is moving us back to the past. Communication. Mama spoke about communication. You mentioned that you are there. Where? We have been trying to speak. We have been trying, platforms have been created. We are not getting responses. We've created a ticketing problem. Nothing has been communicated that is educating us, allowing us, if something was communicated in a manner, we could even pass it on to our students and say, listen, this is what's being said. Nothing has been communicated. We are here and we have taken money out of our non-existent bank accounts to come and listen and stand up for us. Communication is key. So going back to what Utata spoke about from Buffalo City, he spoke about NMMU has had a situation where now the varsities have stepped in and paid. Can we please look at that just for 2 months? Can we just get our finances up to order so we can get back to running the student accommodations? Because as it stands, now our student accommodations have moved from the level you have credited me at. I'm sitting at an E now, yet I started as a B because I do not have furniture. My furniture is currently being burnt. Okay, then the last one is that we spoke about if you're in a village and you build, and me expecting to be paid a non-metro, or sorry, rather a metro level, the thing is, I'm going to talk about Port St. John's. Port St. John's doesn't have any hardwares, right? So for me to build, and for me to get my residence to a level, like in PE, I'm probably going to incur more money to get building materials there. So as a result, and however, you're not going to discriminate from the minimum norms and standards. Minimum norms and standards stay. If you want a kettle, I must bring a kettle. Whether it comes from, you want a kettle there, so you can say I'm accredited. So we have to negotiate. We need to look at the grading levels. We cannot operate in a perfect world. Secondly, we're also looking at, in the rural areas, we have in municipalities that are under administration. They are not giving us the basic services, meaning that in the non-metro, we are forced to go to solars, boreholes, and all sort of backup renewable systems that are costing us. So how can we then say, I'm not worthy of that amount? So I'm asking that we please negotiate and we look at this, because currently in Tata, where I stay, there hasn't been water for a month. However, I have not been paid for 4 months. If I don't give those students water, they are going to damage my residence even further. I am just asking that you give us timelines. Universities must step in and pay because it has been done. So there has to be some sort of trust or some sort of reliability on the institution if you have given them this tender for months. Please. We are sitting here, we are desperate, the situation is dire. We need timelines. We need to go back and create and once again build. Now we're basically starting from scratch. This is what this is leading us to. We cannot let our businesses die. We are black people, we've stepped in, we said we want to help us help. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for all the inputs that we have received. The Secretary has noted all of them. We are here to listen as Nsfas and to take decisions, colleagues. Together with yourselves, we think we can get it done. There is tea outside. We have a challenge of time. I don't know whether we can take a 5-minute break, we quickly grab tea and some cookies and come back inside so that we can proceed with our meeting. 10 minutes, okay? So that we come back and proceed with our meeting. We just want to give you that stretch break time, then we can proceed after 10 minutes. We'll call you back. Thank you very much.
I think we push that payments are made, but I strongly believe the institutions are paying for it.
Why would you do that when you're in school? Where are you guys based?
No, I think it's not just us to submit their list of students.
My sister is
You've done that? No, they must pay. We'll have a quick word with the state. They said, you must pay. So you can at least that pressure is even the landlords will be able to manage. Also,
Spoke well, I have it here.
Did you have it?